to having a I'm just going to go ahead and get into the program since we are a few minutes late and we want to maximize the time for our panelists today. We want to hear everything that they have to share with us. So we're just going to get right into the program. Our first speaker today is Domenica. She is the student advisor at Scholarship Foundation, and we were linked to her by Giselle Marcus, who we have been working with over in Linked Corporation. Domenica, please go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everyone. All right, so can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yes, my name is Domenica. I'm one of the student advisors at the Scholarship Foundation of St. Louis. Thank you, Vitendo for Africa, for inviting the foundation here to participate in this amazing program. And thank you for all the participants that called in. I hope you all are going to be able to get the information you need. And I'll be sure to leave time at the end for you all to have your questions answered. So I want to be sure to share with you all a little bit about who we are and what we do at the Scholarship Foundation. We are a 100-year-old or over 100-year-old non-for-profit organization that have been serving students in and around the St. Louis metropolitan area. We provide access to post-secondary education to members of our community who otherwise would not have the financial means to fulfill their educational goals. And we help students accomplish their goals of getting to and through college by a number of ways. Our first way is through funding. So the foundation funds about 500 students every year through our interest-free loan and our grants and scholarship programs. We also have an advising program where we are providing students and families with the information they need so that they can make informed decisions about college and how they're going to invest in their college education. Also through our advising program, we help with FAFSA completion, which is the free application for federal student aid. We will sit down and have one-on-one conversations with students and families as they're exploring the different schools that they want to apply to, if they have admissions questions. And then also we talk about college affordability, and we also help students compare their different financial aid award letters to understand what it means and what expenses may the student have if they choose a particular school. And then the last but not least thing that we do at the foundation is advocacy. So we advocate for students on the state, federal, and institutional level. And then we also hold space for students to advocate for themselves on policies that are directly affecting students through a program called the League of Student Advocates. And so that's who we are at the foundation. Again, I'm part of the advising team, and I'm going to go through a couple of slides just to touch on some high-level things about financial aid that I think are very important as students are planning to go to college or exploring that as an option. So first here, I want to talk about the different types of financial aid that are available. And there are four main options. You have grants, scholarships, work study, and loans. And with scholarships and grants and even your loans, there are two different categories that those financial resources can be in. And so the first one is need-based, meaning you have a financial need for this resource. And then there's also financial aid, which I primarily knew about as when I was planning to go to college right out of high school. There's merit-based, so you have those funding opportunities that are looking at our GPA and our ACT and SAT test scores. So we have scholarships that are need-based and also scholarships that are merit-based. And that goes it's the same for all the other financial aid resources. Something else, this last bullet on this slide that says scholarship considerations, I just want to throw in a quick note of things that students can start thinking about as they're exploring scholarship options. And the first one is that there's no cost. So we do not recommend that students pay for scholarships, pay to apply for scholarships or receive scholarships. Also, we advise that students are considering if a funding opportunity is renewable. There are a lot of scholarship opportunities out there in the world. Some of them are only one-time awards. And the reason we ask students to be cautious of this is because if they do get a one-time scholarship, that's awesome, but they will have to find a way to fill that gap in the following years. So checking about a scholarship's renewability is really key. And then also if the scholarship's portable. So if that scholarship's going to go to you if you decide to transfer or change your major. Those are just some good things to have in mind as we're looking at the different options. I also wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. Again, this is something that the Scholarship Foundation supports students and families with. And the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is the primary financial aid application. It's done at one site and one site only at fafsa.gov. It is currently open. It opened this month on October 1st, and it opens up every year on October 1st. So students that are considering to go to college this upcoming school year, so 2022-2023 school year, they can start working on their FAFSA application if they are eligible. And eligibility is a piece of the FAFSA. And I do want to say if there's any students on this call or any family members on this call that have students that are planning to go to college and they're concerned about their FAFSA eligibility, or if they already know that they're ineligible to complete the FAFSA, we actually welcome those students to come speak with the student advisor at the Scholarship Foundation so that, one, we can help you determine your eligibility if you're unsure, but then also if you know you're ineligible for the FAFSA application, we can help you navigate other forms of financial aid that you may be able to tap into. So that's all I'm going to say about the FAFSA application, but if we have questions during the Q&A, I'll be more than happy to address those. I do want to move on to talk a little bit about work study. In just one short note on work study is that this is the one form of financial aid that you kind of have to opt into if you are completing the FAFSA application. So if you haven't done that already and you plan to do it in the near future, do the FAFSA application. Keep your eye out for a question that's asked if you want to be considered for federal work study. And it's going to give you the option to say yes or no. And we recommend that students go ahead and say yes while they're completing the application so that they can be considered for all the aid that they're eligible for. And later on, if they decide not to do work study, they can opt out. And just so we're all on the same page, work study federal work study is a need-based form of financial aid where a student would be working on campus. They're going to be paid by the hour, and the maximum amount that a student can receive will be what their work study award is. And that money usually goes directly to the student, or the student can opt to have that money directly applied to their school bill. I also wanted to spend a little time on loans. Federal or student loans in general are kind of a hot topic. Either students are very strong and affirmed in their belief that they don't want to take out loans, and loans are inherently bad. And I get that. I've taken out student loans. I've also heard horror stories about student loans. But instead of saying that all loans are bad, the foundation likes to break loans up into two different categories. So one being a better option and the other one being an option that you should be cautious about. And like anything, I think the most important thing to do with loans is understand the terms and conditions and educate yourself on what these loans are, what they mean for you now, and what they can mean for you in the future. And so we always say that federal loans are better than private loans because there are protections put in place through the federal government that are designed to protect the consumer, the student, the borrower, and those are not necessarily available through your private loans. Also, with the parent and student loans, there are federal parent and student loan options. We encourage students to explore any parent loans with much caution. And the main reason is because our parent loans are going to have higher interest rates. And then there are no grace periods. So you'd have to pay on those loans immediately. Unlike our federal student loans, there's a grace period. Some of them they're interest free while you're in school. And that's not the case for your parent loans. Also, with the federal student loans, you have a subsidized or unsubsidized loan option. And with those subsidized loan options, we consider that's the better option because you're going to be charged interest for a shorter amount of time compared to the unsubsidized loan. So those two loan options, they have the exact same interest rate, the same grace period, but the subsidized, the government is giving the student a subsidy by paying that interest rate while they're in school. So dollar for dollar, if you take out the same amount in the subsidized compared to the unsubsidized, you're going to end up paying more with the unsubsidized loan because you've been charged interest longer. And you all please feel free, if I've gone over my time, chime in. I want to be sure that I'm sharing this space and that we have enough time for questions because you all's questions is the most important thing today. But if I do have more time, I'll go ahead and continue and talk about how we determine a student's unmet need. And this calculation that you see on the screen, we encourage students to use this calculation on their own when they get more information from their school. But financial aid offices are also using a similar calculation, as well as financial aid organizations that offer financial aid. They're using a similar calculation as well. And great. They're using this calculation as well, but I do want to go over it so that students kind of have a good idea on how you come up with this number. How do you gauge what your unmet need is? And so you start with your cost of attendance. This includes your direct and indirect costs. Our indirect costs are going to include things like room and board and fees. But then your indirect cost is going to include everything else that it's going to cost you to be a student for that academic year. So that includes transportation, maybe some books and supplies and personal expenses that you would have for that year. That all should be chunked together in that cost of attendance. Sometimes the school will only do the direct costs. Sometimes the school will do the direct costs and also estimate what their indirect costs are going to be as well. But I think it's very important for students to get a full cost, direct and indirect. Then from your cost of attendance, you're going to subtract your expected family contribution if you're completing the FAFSA application, your EFC number that's going to be calculated from FAFSA. And then from there, you would subtract any gift aid. So any free money you don't have to pay back, you would calculate it from your cost of attendance as well. So your grants and scholarships. And then from there, you come up with your unmet need. And typically this unmet need is funding that it's going to have to come out of pocket for the student and or the family. Or a student can decide to take out one of the different loan options to cover that unmet need amount. Student can also explore other funding resources and also choose to go to a school that is more affordable. And what I mean by more affordable, meaning that that school either is offering them more financial aid to have a smaller unmet need, or that they have a lower cost of attendance to attend that school. And then in this last slide, I'm just about done. I do want to kind of point out the maximum amount of federal student loans that a student can take out per academic year or per grade level, essentially. So even if a student believes they're completely comfortable taking out all the loans just so they can go to school, they're not really concerned about being in debt. They expect that they're going to get a high-paying job, and they don't think that their monthly debt bill is going to be an issue. That's cool, but also there are limits on the federal student loan level with the amount that a student can take out. So in this chart, you can see in this first column where you see the maximum Stafford loan eligibility for dependent students. I kind of want to put our eyes on that row. The maximum amount that a student can take for their first year in college is $5,500. And out of that, only $3,500 can be subsidized, meaning the student won't be charged interest while they're in school. And then that number continues to increase in their sophomore and junior year by $1,000 each year. So I just spent a little time on this slide just so students know that there are limits in the amount we can take out in federal student loans. So when we're choosing what school we want to go to, we want to be informed on how much we can borrow and also how much we can afford paying out of pocket if we find ourselves in a position where we have an unmet need. This will help us decide if we want to explore other options, like going to a different school, a school that's either going to offer you more financial aid or a school that has a lower cost of attendance. Now, the Scholarship Foundation does have funding opportunity. In the next slide, which I believe is my final slide, I'll talk about our aid eligibility. But many conversations that I have with students, they're asking me, how do I even do this scholarship search? Where do I start? Where do I go? And so we decided to give our 2 cents on how we think that students should prioritize their scholarship search. And our first recommendation is that students start at the schools that they're planning to attend. So starting at the prospective schools. So if you're eligible to do the FAFSA, you're first completing the FAFSA application as soon as possible because some aid is first come, first serve. So completing the FAFSA and putting those prospective schools on the FAFSA, when you apply to those schools and once you've been accepted, you will be automatically considered for some institutional aid as well as federal and state aid through that school. In addition to that, we recommend that you check in with that school to see what other financial aid opportunities you can be considered for, And then we also encourage students to prioritize looking at local scholarship opportunities. So that means checking with your school counselor, checking with the community organizations, any religious organizations that you're associated with, to see what opportunities are available based off of where you live. So you can look in your school district, in your neighborhood or county, the city, and then also the state. And then also there is a site that I recommend to all students that live in the St. Louis metropolitan area to check in a site called myscholarshipcentral.org. If you live outside of the St. Louis metropolitan area, there may be other organizations similar to myscholarshipcentral.org, which is essentially a site where local organizations have their scholarship applications available. The Scholarship Foundation would use this site as well. But I do understand that there's people that live in other areas that are on this call as well. But the Scholarship Foundation and Scholarship Central is for the St. Louis metropolitan area. So there are other opportunities similar to Scholarship Central in other areas that you can explore as you're navigating the local scholarship opportunities. And then you can start looking into your national opportunities. But the reason we recommend that students start at the college, then local, then national as they're prioritizing their scholarship search is because the amount of students that you're going to be competing with for those individual scholarship and grant awards are limited. So it increases your odds of being eligible for that funding opportunity. And so for the people that are on this call that live within the St. Louis metropolitan area, I do want to mention our basic eligibility for the Scholarship Foundation funding opportunities. The first is we're only looking for a 2.0 GPA. Our financial aid is need-based. We have an EFC cutoff if you are completing the FAFSA application. And if you're not eligible to complete the FAFSA, we have an alternative needs assessment form that students can complete. Also, you need to be a residency of the St. Louis metropolitan area. And for most of our aid, you can be attending any school. It just has to be accredited in a non-for-profit institution. And our application cycle opens up every year on January 1st, and that deadline is April 15th. And the last thing I want to mention is that our funding opportunity is renewable, meaning that if a student continues to meet the eligibility requirements, that it will be available for them for 8 to 10 academic semesters, depending on which funding they've applied to and been offered. And I do want to be sure to introduce you all to they're not on this call, but there is a team at the Scholarship Foundation that's on the advising team. So it's not just me. There are 3 other wonderful advisors on our team. We work very close together, but we all have our personal experience that we have to offer for the students that we work with. We will work with students that are anywhere, even though there's limits. With our financial aid, our advising services are limitless. We will talk with students over the phone and remotely, no matter where you are. So I welcome you to reach out to any of our student advisors. Our website has the bio of all the advisors. So if you want to meet with someone that you think is going to understand you, or someone that you feel comfortable with meeting with, I welcome you. Also, I have my contact information up on the screen right now. And also the general contact information for the Scholarship Foundation. There you have our phone number and our email address. And then if you would like a student advisor to reach out to you, you can take a quick intake form at the link that is at the bottom. And I will go ahead and throw some links in the chat that you all can pick up. And it'll include different ways that you can engage with the Scholarship Foundation and our advising team. So thank you all so much. That's all I have for you all. And if you have some questions, I would be happy to hear. So I'll be hanging out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Domenica. That is information that I wish I knew when I was joining college. So if you haven't joined college yet, definitely you want to get on that link and get more information. I am now going to welcome somebody we all know, Dr. Mutambuki. She is a mentor, and she's a mentor in our program, and she is also a professor at Oklahoma State University. We haven't seen you in a while, but we are very happy to have you today. Welcome, Dr. Mutambuki.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. In fact, this is really wonderful. I would almost say like Gladwell that so many people went through college, a lot of struggles, they didn't know what to do, but this is really important. So thank you, Fitendo, for Africa, for this opportunity and for really wanting to move the community forward. Thank you, Domenica, for the wonderful presentation. Those are really great opportunities. Again, I say, if you have not been able to take notes, hopefully these slides will be shared and parents will be able to actually access that information later on. So mine is just to add on what Domenica said. So there are definitely those opportunities that are available and students can apply. Unfortunately, my area is not that, so we are fortunate to have Dominisha here. And almost every university is the same. They do have scholarships that are available, scholarships for low-income families and so forth. And so what I would encourage parents to do is not to shy off asking for those opportunities for your students. Just go in there and ask about what are scholarship opportunities that you can tap into. There are so many scholarships for minority students, and many students don't know, and many parents don't know. So if you're able to definitely inquire about that information, you'll get it. Nobody is gonna deny that information, but remember there are so many students who want it. So unless you ask for it, then the scholarship foundation or the officials may not know if you really are in need of one. So just, get out of your comfort. I know we Africans sometimes asking feels like it's really too much, and so our culture is not based on that. But think about your kid. Think about how these opportunities are really gonna benefit them. And so keeping quiet or shying off and not really breaking out of our culture to seek for those opportunities is really going to affect your kid. These are opportunities, is the US. And so there are opportunities for making sure that there is equitable learning. Nowadays, we are very lucky that at least there is that recognition. Everyone can access education as long as they are able to do that, irrespective or regardless of the income. So there are those scholarships that supplement your income to be able to make sure that your student or your kid can get education and quality education that they need to have. So ask about those opportunities and encourage students to also work hard. Dominisha talked about the merit-based. That is based on GPA. So if the student is not able to keep up then GPA that is required for the scholarship, then it's going to be terminated. And so in as much as there are those opportunities, we also have to put in the effort that we need to do to maintain that. So encouraging our students, and also I guess the students are here. Do we have students here, Geoffrey, or is it just the parents?
I think we'll see.
Okay, yeah, so students, I am addressing you, okay, as a professor, as someone who has experience dealing with students. I've seen so many students just get a lot of scholarships. They almost pay nothing because of keeping their GPA to the standard they're supposed to keep. And so most of these scholarships are available. They may not be announced, but then again, they are merit-based, okay? So you have a responsibility, and depending on which institution you are going to be admitted into, to find out what are the merit-based scholarships that are available. And so I would say that also make connections with your professors. If you are taking a course, go to office hours. Even if you don't have a question, just introduce yourself. I like it when my students sometimes they just stop by my office and they tell me, I just wanted to stop by and say hi, but I wanted to let you know that there is this scholarship and I really want to apply. And they are also active in class, so I know them when they come to my office. So I would say that as Black people, sometimes we are shy to speak in class. Students, let that not be the case with you. So please be an active participant. When professors are teaching, they like it when students ask questions. Asking questions doesn't really mean that you're stupid or you're anything. That probably you feel your peers might look at you in a different perspective. It's just because you actually can connect those dots. Nobody asks unless they know, unless you realize you have a gap in knowledge. And so the moment you ask those questions, then professors get to know you, because every time I get a student asking a question, first thing I ask them, I tell them, bring name tags to class because I want to know you. There are those scholarships. I know you'll be coming to me for recommendation letters. And so I'll not be able to know you in a class of 100 plus. So I encourage them to bring name tags. If they don't have their name tags, then every time a student asks a question, the first thing I do is, what is your name? Because I want to know who is this active student in my class. And so I encourage each and every one of you students, in any class you are going to take, be an active participant, let your professors know you. And so when those opportunities now to apply for scholarship come by, then you get a very excellent recommendation letter. I've had students, like, I don't know any student who never got a scholarship from the letter that I wrote, because I know them and I can write like really good about them. They are active students, they are hardworking before it, turning their homework on time. You know, those are some of the things that when you're in college, or if you go to college, remember your parent will not be there anymore to talk to you about, okay, you need to plan your time well, you need to do your homework. I see, and it's unfortunate to mention this, but sometimes I know because of the low income and not being able to meet all your college needs in terms of finances, some students are forced to work so many hours. And so they can balance between academics and the work. I have students who tell me, you know, I work 75 hours per week. And I'm like, no, that is unbearable. There is no way you're going to balance your academics and work. Either one of it is going to suffer, and that is definitely academics. And we are talking about scholarships here. So if you can't keep up the GPA because you have to work so many hours, then the scholarship is going to be terminated. And so your work and the hours you're working are so many, eventually they're not going to take you anywhere. So parents, if we are also able to support our students, let's do that, knowing that if we let them to just work so many hours, then even the little scholarship they have, it's going to be terminated. So that is one thing I've observed in my students. Right now, I'm dealing with cases of students who have not done exams. Okay, midterm exams, we have 3 midterms and then final. So some have not done even 2 exams. They've missed labs. So you have to really keep up with the academic expectations, know what are the expectations. Every professor stipulates that very well on their syllabus or syllabi. And so it's up to you to make sure that you meet those expectations. In the US, one thing I found is like, there is no, you know, there are no corners to say, wow, I know so and so. It's about keeping the standards that are required, whether it's in GPA, whether it's credit hours that you need to meet to be able to keep up your scholarship. So that is very, very important for our students. Also, there are scholarships that or financial opportunities that you can tap into, and these are based on faculty research. So those who are in STEM, or not even STEM necessarily, there are professors who are looking for students and they pay them. I do have so many students work for me, and I pay them like $11 per hour just to do my research. So there are those opportunities, unless you also break out of your comfort zone and reach out to professors, email them in your major. If it's biology, go to the biology website, look at what the professors do, what is their research areas, identify one of them and reach out. Find about the opportunities. They will be really happy to take you in. You'll learn about your field, which is actually an advantage because that develops your critical thinking. in the area of your major, and also gives you some money. So you are working, but then actually you are working to advance your academics. By the time you take those advanced courses, they will be like easy, easy, easy. Just, sweeping through them and getting good grades again. So you are not working off campus, you are working on campus, but then in an area that is developing you toward your career trajectory and preparing you even better. Okay, so those are opportunities that most students don't know about or they shy of. Especially, I would emphasize Black students. Please, it doesn't matter. You may not see many people like you, okay? Many faculty members who are Black, especially in sciences and or engineering, but that doesn't mean that white faculty or professors are not supportive. They are so supportive. They actually are looking for students. So an area that you see, write an email to them, write to as many as possible, talk to them about their research and whether there are opportunities for funding that you can tap into. So that is really, really important. And they also pay well. So you get good grades. Again, they also tell you about, oh, there are these scholarships. In our department, chemistry department, we do have a lot of scholarships. And so sometimes we get emails about, okay, it's time to nominate students. And so if you have students in the lab that are in that discipline, then those get the first priority, okay? By the time we consider even of other students, or we announce in class, well, there are these opportunities apply. We first focus on, okay, do we have any students in our lab who are working for us on research projects? And so those are the first ones to actually get those opportunities. So there are lots of opportunities out there. Grab them, grab them. The next thing that I wanna talk about is also there is like the funding agencies, the federal, like National Science Foundation and all that, they give money for minority students at institutions. And so there are programs like STEM as well that they will pair a student with a faculty member. So this time around, you are not the one who is actually seeking that opportunity from faculty members. You can go through, like Dominisha talked about the scholarships and all that. So asking about those opportunities and research experiences, you get matched to a faculty member and then you are paid, okay? They take care of some tuition and they give you stipend. So again, those are opportunities at different institutions. Most institutions do have them, okay? So again, ask for them. Parents, push, okay, push for these opportunities and really try to seek them out for your students. They may not do it, okay, but then as a parent, you can just, even if you are vulnerable, you can tell them about, I don't know more about college, but here there are opportunities. Actually, they're gonna listen to you because what comes to their mind is this first generation, these parents have no clue about college and the opportunities out there, and they are looking for those vulnerable groups of students from, those families to be able to support them because those grants are there and they support students for that course. I think that is what I need to say. There are other research opportunities and scholarships that you not necessarily have to be affiliated with your own institution, but those happen during summer. They are called summer undergraduate research experiences. So many institutions nationwide, they do have those opportunities and they recruit students from everywhere in the US. So what they do is they cater for the accommodation. They pay you a stipend, I think, for $5,000, and everything is just catered for. You pay nothing. It's just being immersed into research experience because what is happening is there is underrepresentation in science and engineering labor force, especially for minority groups. So women and people of color, they don't get employed in science and engineering. And so there are those opportunities to really support those students. You can go to any institution that is available. And so that is known as summer research experiences. Sometimes real, okay, research experiences for undergraduate students. And so any institution will offer that. And so I will be sharing some of these links with Geoffrey. That way you can pass them on to parents. And during summer, when schools close, instead of having students just stay idle at home or either going to McDonald's to work for, those few dollars, but then it's not really contributing anything toward their career trajectories, they can tap into those opportunities as well. So I will be able to share those links with Geoffrey. So I don't know if there are any questions, but again, I know you probably will have questions at the end.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Jacinta. And I am a student right now, and I can confirm that everything that Dr. Jacinta said is true. You have to connect with your professors. That's how you network. That is, companies go to colleges to pick their next top employees. You want to be among those who are being picked. And also for the parents, as you go through this process of figuring financial aid for the kids, get the kids involved. Let them know it's not easy. That way they're going to appreciate it more. We are going to move over to our last speaker, who is also a mentor in our program, and she's also a professor at Webster University, Dr. Muthoni. We are happy to have you here, and we can't wait to learn more from you. Welcome, Dr. Muthoni. Dr. Muthoni, if you're speaking, you're still on mute.
Hey, I'm having a bit of trouble. Could you just go on? Give me like 2 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm having a bit of trouble with my computer.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah,
no worries.
I had to restart my computer, so it's starting up. So give me 2 minutes. Maybe take a question while I do that.
Sure. Does anybody have a question for Dr. Jacinta or Domenica?
Yeah, hi. I have a question for Dr. Jacinta. She mentioned about opportunities in the summer for the kids. Does that only apply to your kids that are already in campus, in university, or a senior in high school too?
Oh, that is a really good question. So some of these, the research experiences I was referring to apply for students who are already in college, but definitely there are opportunities for students in high school. That is a good question. And I know, like WashU, there is a program that Joshua, when Joshua was at WashU, he moved to Oklahoma because I had to take him. But I know he used to share a lot with the parents about the high school research experiences and scholarships that are happening. They are still in progress. Students are being recruited. And so, yeah, there are high school opportunities, research opportunities as well. So again, I will talk to him because that is almost like his area. He knows more about that than I do. So I will talk to him and then see if, like, what opportunities are there and students can tap into. I know mostly at WashU, they take students in when they're in 11th grade.
That would be great.
Yeah. So that I think would really benefit them. And so once they get it, let them go for it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anybody else with a question for any of our speakers?
Hi, I have a question on your opinion on AP in club courses and exams.
Okay.
Is that for me, the question?
Yes.
Okay, say that again. What is the question?
The question was, what do you think about like AP exams and club exams? Like the ones where you take to get college credit?
Yeah, I think those are really great. The AP, those AP courses, they really correlate with your progress in college, like your GPA. So if let's say you want to take AP, biology, AP, chem, those subjects is really good. If you have those opportunities, go for them. They prepare you better. And actually the introductory courses, like I teach general chemistry, most of my AP chemistry students tackled that in high school. So when we are beginning up to, let's say, chapter 7, that's when things start to get complicated. But most of these, they are covered in high school because it's kind of like advanced courses and they prepare you for college. So if you have that opportunity, please take it. Okay. It's gonna help you in a big way. And when students are struggling to really get them basics, you'll be like 10 steps ahead of them. Okay, yeah, go for them. AP, go for them. If your high school is able to offer that.
Fantastic.
It's a good
I see Dr. Muthoni has joined in, so we're going to welcome you and take it over from here.
Thank you so much. I apologize for the issues I had with my setup. So I don't have very much to add because I think the previous speakers have covered really important information. I have learned very much as well myself from listening to the advice and education from Dominisha and from Dr. Jacinta. I guess this being a parent forum, I will speak directly to parents about getting involved. And I think that's one of the things I always, I have found that we could do a lot better with being more actively engaged. I think there is a tendency to think that I don't understand American history, I don't understand chemistry, I don't understand math. You don't have to understand any of that. I really don't. But it doesn't stop me from wanting to know how I can support my kids. What they want to know is that you're there and that you're interested. And for me, actually, the journey has been one of an education from my children that I learned from them. So taking a stance that there are many things I don't know, and that doesn't mean that I shouldn't get involved. In fact, the more reason for me to get involved so that I can ask questions and understand what the process is for them. I didn't know a whole lot about the AP classes that you're asking about. I didn't know very much about Stafford loans and all of that sort of thing. But asking my children and going to those opportunities that the schools provide for parents to hear from, you have different college presentations that are provided, availing yourself of those opportunities so that you can learn. So really staying hungry and wanting to learn as much as you can so that you know how to best support your kids. They understand that there are things we don't know. Just this morning, I had a history lesson, an American history lesson, because my kids were shocked that I didn't know about the Revolutionary War or something. How would I know that? I didn't learn that. I learned African history. I don't know much about American history. So I had a crash course this morning from my 8th grader, but it's really about being open to learning, and that there's no shame to not knowing, that once you accept that you don't know and really say that, let your kids know, then you're in this together. It's the idea of support and a desire to be part of that process for them. So that's really sort of what I really would want to encourage parents. Go to high school games. Right now, I know it's football season or basketball season or whatever season they're doing. I think parents start thinking that once your kids are older and that they're driving, that you don't have to be part of their activities anymore, that when they were younger and going to different, soccer games, you went with them, but now that they're older, that you don't need to be involved. So those the important conversations about college and all of that process, they don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in the context of relationships that you have built with your children. And those take place by you being involved in all other aspects of their lives, so that you can be engaged. I think a conversation or anything from me would be incomplete without talking about mental health in the context of this process of college applications and thinking about the future. We need to be aware that this is a stressful process for kids. They're trying to figure out very, very much. So I don't have a lot of expertise about Fafsa. I'm going to be hitting up Gladwell and Jacinta and Jeff for help when that time comes for my kids. But what I can say is that it's stressful for me as a parent thinking about it. Imagine how much more stressful it is for our kids who are thinking they have to navigate this process. So really being mindful, not to create additional stress by putting, not to create additional stress, but to think about how can I support you? How can I be more supportive? As you go through that process, they're going to be writing essays, applying to different scholarships that we have been told about, writing college application essays, and that it's important that we are recognizing and providing space for them to talk about what that process is like for them and listening without judging, not pressuring them into specific areas that are our own interests and not their interests. College is a journey of exploration and growth, and students go there. Many of the students that I meet at the undergraduate level, many of them are undecided in their first 2 years, and that's a fine place to be. You don't have to succumb to the pressure of knowing what your path is for the rest of your life. They're 18, they're 17, 18, 19. They're still really young. So it's okay that they're undecided. Support them in that exploration process and to learn to sit with that ambiguity for yourself as a parent and for them as well. And once they go there, they go into a history class, they go into a chemistry class, they go into a philosophy class, psychology, and then they get clarity on what am I really interested in? What do I feel really speaks to me? And then again, it's their choice. And I think we have to just learn to do better as parents to support them in the choices that they make. That's not to say I don't have desires and wishes for my kid. So oftentimes I will push them in a particular direction, but I push gently and listening and being very aware of if I'm experiencing resistance or pushback, recognizing is this my own agenda that I'm placing in this child's life and at what cost to them, right? So that's not to say that parents don't have a place to or a role to play, because I have goals. There are things I want for my kids. I want them to have a good life, right? And I know the kinds of things that I think will make for an easier life for them. But ultimately, it's their decision. And I can make suggestions, but also respect their autonomy as people that have the rights to make decisions. I love what Jacinta said about encouraging. So we model to our children what we're saying. So you said, go to your professors for office hours. During their office hours, introduce yourself so that when you're applying for scholarships, they know you. But our kids watch us. If as a parent, I am not going to parent-teacher conferences, if I'm not going to school meetings when they're offered, if I'm not doing those kinds of things, I'm not modeling the kinds of things that we're talking about that would be beneficial for them. So parents have a big task. Go to school parent-teacher conferences, even for your senior. It might seem silly, but you might learn a thing or two about what your child is dealing with, what their challenges are. So when those opportunities are offered, take the 15 minutes, go meet your child's teachers, because it will show them that you're interested, but it also shows them a way to interact with people on the other side of that desk. So that when they're in college, when they're in high school, they can go find a school counselor and say, I need help with XYZ, because they've seen their parents do the same thing. So modeling the behaviors that we're encouraging in our own kids. Finally, there's one thing that I'm hoping also to learn over as we go from this is, so a lot of these conversations are about need-based scholarships. I'm really interested in also getting information about merit-based scholarships, because I think there's a lot of Kenyan parents, African parents who people here are doing okay, more than okay. Many families, people in healthcare, the healthcare industry seems to pay pretty well, right? So there are many people who are making just enough not to be poor, but not enough to be rich. I'm one of those, right? Like I don't qualify. My kids probably won't qualify for need-based scholarships. And I think there are a lot of parents that are in the same boat. But we also don't have enough money. We don't have the resources that people in America have. That is generational wealth that has been left by parents and grandparents for, funds that were established for kids. We don't have access to those kinds of resources. That we can fund our children's college experience single-handedly. So I guess maybe that's where the place of those kinds of scholarships that you're talking about, the transferable or portable scholarships, some that are not necessarily tied to a particular university. And I know there are many opportunities like that. I don't have information on that, but I would love more. So I'm going to end there and let the conversation continue with questions or other things. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Muthoni.
I would like to add something to Dr. Musangali. Thank you for the wonderful presentation and the information. So Dr. Musangali talked about college application, and I know that is an area that most students, especially minority students, get just screened off. You know, the applications, they are read, and depending on how you express your need, it's going to be selected based on that. And so what we've realized, and we talk as faculty of color and all that, we've come to notice that students from first generation college and also minority students, they don't have anybody who can support them when it comes to application, writing a competitive application for these scholarships. And so what probably Fitendo for Africa can do is, or parents, when you identify that it's now the time to apply for those scholarships, then these students have been matched with mentors. So Fitendo Africa has done an excellent job of matching students with mentors. So mentors can help those students to kind of like, revamp their application. That way it can be competitive. One of my colleagues is a Kenyan and a professor at OSU where I am. And one of his kids was applying, and it's like, Jacinta, can you imagine like how many kids out there? They don't have anybody who even understands the system, these applications and all that. And if I can sit down with my kid as a professor to help him craft an application, think about those students who don't have anybody in the family. And so mentors can really help our students in that role to really revamp the application. I know, like, if I say, oh, I can help, I'll get like, I don't know how many applications, and probably I don't have the time to do that. But then I'm going to be willing to help. I'm very sure if someone approaches Dr. Musangali, they can also review it. I don't know about Dominisha because of conflict of interest, and given that she's in that office, whether that helps. But we do have so many Kenyans out there who are mentors, and they can help these students apply, or even like the parent students apply for these scholarships by coming up with a competitive application. Another thing that Dr. Musangali mentioned is not pushing students to do what probably you want them to do and not what they want to become. That is another pressure out there. So let's say I want my kid to be a doctor, and I'm really pushing, you have to become a doctor and all that. That's what I want of you. But remember, this is the person who's going to be sitting in this class. The thing that is really important and can drive their excellence in academics is the passion and motivation in doing what they want to do. If you have passion for a thing, you're going to do it as if, like, no strongholds at all. I'm not saying like there are these easy courses and all that. It's about the passion and what they see themselves becoming. So if you identify what their passion is, then support them toward that. Don't push them to do something that they don't really want to do. Because what you end up getting is backlash. They're going to be defiant. And sometimes, you know, they are not going to do well in that measure you are pushing them to do. And eventually they are going to quit or, you know, drop out. So what is the point? Help them, support them, pursue what they are passionate about. The good thing in America, there are lots of opportunities. You pursue it, you are an excellent, you are an expert in that field, then yeah, life is going to be great. But let's not push when they want to do something. Let's give them the opportunity to do it. Of course, there are those other students who don't really know what they want to be. So Dr. Musangali talked about exploring during the first year as they take these intro level courses like general chemistry and biology and all those. So with time, they will get there. And we do have a lot of students who are like that. They haven't declared what their major is, but then after they hear about, you know, this field, because sometimes we do connect. We say, okay, this concept I'm teaching, you'll find it, you know, it's applicable in this area. So interest in being just from that. So depending on how we teach as faculty members, but also as they explore many options, they will be able to come up with something. So don't fix them to really just do or pursue what you want them to pursue, because it will not happen and you'll be disappointed and frustrated.
Thank you, Dr. Jacinta and Dr. Muthoni for the information. I am now going to turn this to the audience and ask if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns. As we think about the questions,
this is Rose Oginga. I have a question. And I joined in late. I was still at work, but I captured. Is when we encourage students to do those who do well actually do well. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are breaking for a little bit. Okay.
And then there is the college prep as well. So there are those students who finish high school and actually are able to cover 2 years of their program and get just a few credit courses in the associate program, for instance. What's your view on students who want to start off with associate program before going to the main degree program? Anyone of you can answer that.
Yeah, so I will answer that because I know in our committee and we talk about, you know, college transfer to degree program. And so I think what is best is to find out if you know which degree program you're gonna end up into or enrolling the institution, then you can find out what credits are transferable. Some of them you may take them in college, but then some universities may not really agree or accept those credits. So you will be forced to retake these courses that you took, because either they feel like the standard is not up, you know, at the same level, and so probably students will be behind. I know that happens really a lot at OSU where I am at. And so the most important thing is to find out, let's say you want to go to SLU, St. Louis University, and you're in college. What are the credits they accept so that you can be able to transfer? So finding out about that would be really helpful, I would say, because not all of them can be transferred.
Thank you. That's a very key aspect because many students think that all credits will be transferred, but usually does not happen. And some get very discouraged after going through all that. So that's a good guidance. Thank you.
I want to add that community college, I think, is also one of the best kept secrets. An associate degree, it doesn't work for everybody, but I think that's where it's important to have really clear conversations with your kids, that if you're going to go to a state university that has an affiliation agreement with community colleges in your area. I think, for example, like when I taught at SIU Carbondale, we had a college, John A. Logan Community College, that was in a neighboring town in Carbondale, that many students, again, depending on the program you want to go into, that they could take an associate degree and pay, like a really low tuition rate, and then transfer your 2 years of college credits to finish a 4-year degree. I know Florida has a lot of those arrangements as well. When I worked at the University of Central Florida, there were colleges that we had affiliation agreements with, particular programs had affiliation agreements with. I remember the College of Education, for example, if you're going for a teacher degree, that you could go to Osceola Community College or some of the other ones that I don't remember, and then come into UCF essentially as a college junior, having paid only a fraction of the tuition. That takes careful planning, and one has to be really thoughtful about what your ultimate goals are. So there's benefits to that. However, if like you're talking about, Dr. Jacinta, is if you have a kid that's looking to go to Johns Hopkins, for example, they will not take credit from Florissant Valley Community College, for example. So a kid that gets college credits from Florissant Valley Community College or Southwestern Illinois or any of the other ones that I can't think of right now, or St. Charles Community College, for example, then those will not apply, depending on the kind of school that you're looking to go to. So again, very important to, so it's not like a one size fits all rose. It's a nuanced answer that depends on the details of what program and what school is the individual looking to go into.
Thank you, Dr. Jacinta and Dr. Muthoni. Anybody else has a question?
Yeah, hi. I was just looking to see if we would be able to have access to the mentors that Dr. Jacinta was referring to for high school kids looking to apply for colleges.
Yes, we can provide the access to the mentors, but what usually happens to the program is the student registers to be a mentee, and then Jeffrey and the office, they go through the student's information to be able to pair them with a mentor that fits their career goals. We change this about every 2 years because the mentors get busy at some point and sometimes they're not able to reach to the mentees. So we also want the mentees to have a variety of opinions, not just one person's opinion. So we try to shuffle it so that the mentees have more resources. But yes, if you'd like to speak to a specific mentor, just reach out to Jeffrey, to the office, and he'll provide you with the information.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other question?
There are a lot of scholarships that are not associated with any schools in particular. And I say that for the merit-based, and sometimes it's just like you have these really weird organizations that have a scholarship for a very specific type of person. And many of them go with oftentimes they go without an applicant. So I think it's helpful to do some research and find some of those. Maybe that's one of those things that we can sort of work to build a database of some of those organizations that have, I'm thinking about the Spencer Foundation as one that comes to mind. There's also small scholarships that you find in your local newspaper. That's like the Farmers Cooperative, or like I think of the Quiver Electric Company here in Missouri. Usually will have like a $2,000 scholarship that they post in a newspaper that just requires like a 500-word essay. So those kinds of little things, eventually they add up. So it's important not to dismiss a scholarship because it's just $500. That's $500 that could be your books for your first year. So applying for those kinds of things as well, because they're not need-based.
Very true. Jeffrey, do you want to speak on the scholarship opportunities that we have for the students in the mentorship program?
Yes, I was just about to text that we have a list of scholarship programs that we've been compiling from our previous students, and we have it on a Google Drive. And every time it's coming up, when we know it's coming up, we share with a group on the chat. I think we've had a couple of them that got scholarship from Coca-Cola scholarship. You get 20,000. Hampton scholarship. The bunch of them we have listed and with the links and the dates when you apply and who can apply. If you can apply, if you're senior, you're junior. We've tried to put that information that we keep on adding every time we get new ones. And I think that's a great resource. Like Dr. Muthoni just mentioned, that's a great resource that I think we can be able to share. One thing I will say is that we have a forum for parents and we have forum for the youth. The reason why is we share that with the youth. Most of them, they don't apply. And that's why Dr. Muthoni said, and Dr. Jacinta saying, that's why you as a parent, you also have to check on the chat, because there are some things that we share there. And when you talk to the kids, they will tell you, I didn't know about it, but they know about it. It's only that they didn't want to do it. And I think you have to be able to be on the toe. Like she mentioned, you have to, when they know you're following up and you keep in touch of things, then they will be able to do things. But when they know that you don't follow up, then they will just give you an answer. They know you'll be comfortable with the answer. So that's a resource that I will be able to provide. I know a lot of them, they have them, but I will be able to share with the parents so you can be able to follow up and be able to tell them, hey, you need to apply. Like, I think there is one that is coming up that is due in November, a couple of them that is due in January. So because most of them, some of them, and I think you will hear from the speakers, you have to write an essay. Most of them, they don't want to write essays. But there's nothing free. Even when you hear those scholarships, you have to write an essay. And we've put a lot of effort trying to teach them to know how to write those essays, because also a good essay will be able to get you those scholarships. If you don't know how to write it, then it's going to be a challenge to get them. Yeah.
And just to add on regarding the essays, we do audits, we edit the essays. If a student writes an essay and they reach out and say that they just want somebody to go through the essay, we do that. We do work with students in colleges who are hired through the work study program in their university, but there are also students who have written these essays who know what they are required to do. So they help with making sure that the essays are correct. And we have things like debate clubs where the students get to debate. It builds on their speaking and writing skills, because that is essentially what they're going to need to be able to not just write the essay, but some of these scholarships, they come with interviews. You have to sit down for an interview. And if you write a good essay, but you cannot go and speak about it, then you'll miss that opportunity. So like Jeffrey said, it is important to look into the forum, see when these things are happening, and just make sure that your kids are enrolled in the programs. Any other question? We have a few minutes left.
I think something else I wanted to add on that, and I think maybe Dr. Muthoni or Dr. Jacinta or anybody in the audience can be able to chip in a little bit, is about the ACT and SAT. That is something that the people that we talked to, they will tell you, oh, nowadays, or because of COVID, schools, they don't require the ACT. It's not a requirement. But when you read some of the requirements on the side, they say it's not a requirement, but it's an added advantage. And I think that's a language a lot of people don't understand or maybe interpret in a different way. SAT, it depends on the school. Some schools, they require SAT, others require SAT. And there is a requirement of the points that you need to reach out. So right now we're encouraging our young people to work on it. And I'm so happy to say that one of our mentee who happened to be Dr. Muthoni's daughter scored 34. And we told them that if you hit 28 points and above, we're going to give you 300. And every point above that you get $50. So we have for people who put some resources together. So yesterday when we had a meeting, the girl went home with $600 because of that. And I think the purpose of it is to encourage them to see the importance of working hard towards that, because it not only helps you to be good in your GPA also, but also it puts you in a better position when it comes to scholarship. And it just speaks more volume when you present your paper and you say you have those points. It is when anybody who is looking at your profile will just be excited and want to connect with you more. I don't know if any of them or the people, the speakers, have anything to add on the ACT and the SAT.
Yeah, it's true that with everything going on in the community in the past, I would say maybe in 2020, the Floyd issue and all those other things, many universities are considering of just doing away with the ACT scores, but I'm not saying that all institutions are. So definitely you'll find that the big institutions or the top cream where you guys should aim, and I'm happy to see most of our mentees going to these like top cream universities. You go to such universities, you'll never regret. And so I would say, like Joffrey just said, work hard, put in the effort. If they are required, then you lose nothing. If they are not required, you lose nothing. But then the thing is, if they are required for some of these top schools and you haven't done it, then definitely that limits your opportunities. So just do it, do your best, because as you also prepare, some of these concepts will be tackled in some of the classes. Like I tell you, for SCT math scores, those ones correlate with performance in chemistry. It's given, because chemistry is a lot of, math and all that. So if you're able to also prepare, remind yourselves about those concepts, then it puts you forward. So take advantage of that. Do it. Do your best. Get the best scores, and you never know. An opportunity might come out there, and you are given the full scholarship to go to Harvard if you have it. So, yeah, go for it.
I have a quick question. So my daughter has really just been focusing on the SAT. She didn't really try the ACT. Is there a disadvantage to that? Should I encourage her to try? But she's a junior right now.
Yeah, I would say
in
yes.
high school.
Yeah, I would say yes. Unfortunately, I don't know, like, when is the timeline? Probably Dr. Muthoni can talk about it, but I don't know the timeline for, or even Joffrey, for timeline for high schoolers to do or prep for these SAT and ACT scores. But
So
if you can do both, yeah, then better.
Okay, because she's doing her ACT the first time on November 6th, this coming November. But I had you mention about the ACT. So should we not just focus on the one and do both? I'm just trying, or is it just...
So most students do both. ACT and SAT. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd also suggest looking at, if she's thinking about doing that already and she's a junior, this is in my mind somebody that's probably already thinking about, she may have a list of schools that she's interested in.
Yes.
So look at those schools and see what do they require. Some schools will take one over the other. There are some schools that don't care which one you take. But again, a lot of this require the same skills. People avoid the SAT because then you have to write an essay, whereas the ACT doesn't have the essay. So if you take the SAT, you might as well take the ACT because it's calling for a lot of the same skills, and that way you have the benefit. And it's just an extra. I don't know how much it costs. It can be more than 150. It's probably a lot less than that. So I would go for it. She takes the SAT, I would suggest do the ACT as well. It couldn't hurt to have both. And I think once you ace one, then it helps take off the edge about test taking. And it's a good thing that she's doing that early. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That
So
also
the ACT
sort of
has no essay writing. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
part.
the ACT. Yeah, you have the option to write an essay or not. So the ACT doesn't have the essay as a requirement. So the SAT does require that you take an essay, you write an essay. And so that's why kids will avoid the ACT. So if she's wanting to do, or she or he, your child is prepping for the SAT, that's excellent. They would be well prepared to take the ACT as well.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. I'll talk to her to do both. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do want to say, so I think one of the things that's really helpful, I know we sort of repeat some of what the other speakers have said, but it's really for emphasis because this is really critical information. Even if they're saying that these things are going to be waived for college application next year, I always think about these as extra credit opportunities. If my child has an opportunity to do extra credit in school, by gosh, you're doing it. Like, why would you not go for the extra credit? Because you might have an assignment that comes around that's really hard, that drops your grade. That extra credit gives you some safety net that then provides a safety net that you don't have to constantly worry about your grade falling or declining. So if that's an opportunity, I would absolutely encourage, like we shouldn't be thinking, especially for us immigrants and our children of immigrants. I think the fact that it's optional doesn't mean a thing for us. We just ignore that narrative and do it anyway, because we always want to go, we want to be well prepared and put ourselves in a place where we are at an advantage. And if it then becomes unnecessary and not required, the question becomes, how do you stand out? How do you stand out from other applicants that have a 4.0 GPA or have this or that? If you have that additional score, then it really does help you to stand out from other applicants. The other thing I want to say is take it early. My daughter, thank God, I'm just really grateful. She took it at the end of her sophomore year. And the thing, she was taking it so that she could see what areas she needs to work on so that she can improve and take it again in her junior year. And one of the things that I find to be really beneficial about doing that is that when you take it at that level, like at the end of her sophomore year, your daughter that's taking it at the beginning of the junior year, you're not under a great deal of pressure at that point. It's not like everything is riding on that. And so it reduces that test anxiety for many of them. The stakes are not as high that early on. And what it does is then you become familiar with the format of the exam. You become familiar with the questions and how you develop a better approach to test taking so that if you don't score very highly, the next time you come around and do it, first of all, you give yourself many other chances to do it again. And then you also are familiar with the format of the questions and the whole assessment. So it's helpful. So I encourage people to, if your kids haven't said anything about it and they're coming to the end, or they're sophomore year or they're a junior, ask. If they haven't said anything, you should ask them when they're taking this, and how can I help? Remember not to ask in a way that you're shaming them if they haven't brought it up already, but it's, I have found out about this. What can you tell me? How can I help you? Right? But have that conversation if they've not already raised it with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muthoni. We've come to the end of the time for this forum. We do recognize that there are many questions to be answered, and so we are going to plan on more forums. In the meantime, if you have any question, reach out to Jeffrey or reach out to Sarah if you're in the East Coast. And that way we can be able to compile these questions and figure out the speakers, because we don't want to just bring in speakers who cannot speak for the questions that you have. This was a very productive forum because our speakers, they knew the topic and they knew how to discuss the question. So for the parents, if you have no questions, reach out. For the students too, if you have questions, reach out. We are here to support you. We are here to help you. We want to see you succeed. We are here to push you, and we are here to pull you along the way. So do not be afraid to reach out. That is why we are here. Jeffrey, do you have anything else to add?
Thank you so much, your speakers. I'm trying to follow Dr. Muthoni's instructions. My son is going for a birthday, so I need to get out of here as soon as possible. But before I go, because I know he's already complaining upstairs, I wanted to remind you that we have more events coming up. So probably it's always good to join us and follow up on what's happening around. Wanted to share that on October 21st, we have a Building Momentum speaker series where we share our stories, and we invite a mentor and a mentee in our program to share their stories and encourage each other. So we have Dr. Mati, who is also the new director of Department of Health in St. Louis. And also we'll have Anne, who is also in a mentee. She's a high schooler. They will be shared discussing about their life as immigrants, but also some of the things that they're doing. And then October 30th at 10 a.m., we continuing with our father-son connections activities. This one will be hiking. We encourage, I think there is a link there that needs to be added there to join us for that morning. As long as you are a father, if you don't have, if they're kids who, their sons, they can join us within a father figure with us, because we want to help them build that stamina of being man. And then we have a program that's called Meet the Author. We had a great event last week with Priscilla, and this week we have Ari Benson. It's going to be on November 11th, Bridging the Opportunity Gap. A great resource book that I'm reading right now. But also it's good to connect with them to hear. He's also the president of International Institute. And when you talk about building our diversity inclusion, I think we are very much advantaged right now. Like our speaker said, just build your profile. And then when that opportunity comes, you will be able to stand out. And then we have our November 13, our annual gala. So we hope you can be able to go to our website here and click events, and you'll be able to see what's upcoming events. Other than that, I will turn over to Sarah Munyiri to maybe close with a vote of thanks, and then I will be dropping the mic. Off I go.
Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for showing up and for asking all the questions that you asked today. I hope that everyone who joined, whether a student or a parent, have really gained something from our wonderful speakers for this event tonight. So in a special way, I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks all those people who have invited others to join us. And as Jeffrey said, we have many events that are coming up, and we will continue to provide this and more to our community in an effort to help enlighten and improve the livelihood of ourselves and for our families and our children. I want to take this opportunity to thank our speakers today. You can all agree that we have been very well fed. We have been trained well. Now we can say that we do not know. And so I want to thank Dominisha, I believe, well, that was her name. Thanks, Dr. Jacinta, for your time and for sharing all those resources and answering all our questions. And also Dr. Muthoni, thank you so much for gracing this day, for being with us, and for always being there and being available to mentor us, mentor our children, and attend this program so that we can continue serving and giving to our community. Bradwell, the event was very good. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for being the moderator. You did a fantastic job. And for all of us and everyone who participated in one way or another, we want to thank you and appreciate you. We are so happy and very blessed to be with you. And we pray that as we continue, you will continue to set those questions. This video will be available in our social media and our website. And so be on the lookout to share it and also to watch it to reference. And so we can continue doing what we do as parents and as a guardian. So thank you again. Thank you, Jeffrey. And if there's nothing else, everyone have a nice evening.
My name is Nicholas Ngige.
My name is Sebastian.
I am Katavi. I'm Grace Maringanga. I'm Ruth.
Diane Stevenson.
Jen McGaddy.
Milka Dewa.
Christina Vivid.
Safi Uzaye.
Jaja Uzaye.
Agatha Kinethia.
Faiza.
Dr. John Mwangi.
My name is DeAndrea Weeks, and I am with Virginia for Africa.
I am with Nintendo for Africa. I am with Nintendo for Africa. And I am with
Nintendo for Africa.
I am with.
I'm with.
I am with.
I am with Nintendo for Africa.